Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, and today I'm going to show you how to plant. Which is our kale and lettuce plants, and that is winter rye that we planted last November. So I used 50 pounds of winter rye last November. So starting with December, January, February, March, and April, for 5 months now, I've been growing soil, which has been taking sunlight, fueling the plant, that takes carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and forces that carbon dioxide in the ground as liquid carbon and feeding the soil, thus growing soil. And another great advantage of growing that soil all that time, we have increased mycorrhizal fungi in the soil so we can have healthy plants this spring. And the best thing is that we do not have to rototill all this in. We can just simply cut it level to the ground. If you rototill it, you're killing all the work that you did for 5 months. You're releasing, you're cutting up the roots, you're cutting up the mycorrhizal fungi, you're inducing more air in the soil, so all that green manure that you think you're putting back on the ground, you are chopping up and fueling that system 10 times larger than it should be, and it's going to eat all that green grass and release it as carbon dioxide, and you're going to have nothing that you achieve. And this can be done in 2 weeks. Once you rototill it in, everything that you accomplish is gone in 2 weeks. To double check what I just said, in 2 weeks' time, you can come back and you'll see nothing green or even brown. You'll see no organic matter. It has all turned to carbon dioxide. Then you say, Mark, what about all the nutrients? It's in the soil. Now those nutrients stay in the soil because of the soil food web, but you destroyed its home. You ruined the mycorrhizal fungi. You ruined the soil aggregates in the ground by rototilling or digging it in. So you do not want to touch the soil. Do I, on my farm, in other cases, do a power rake across the top? Yes, I only go down maybe a 1/4 inch, and that's it. If I go down any further, it's going to destroy it. Here we have an example that I did last night. It took me about 2 to 3 minutes, going nice and slow because it was dry at the end of the day. I used an electric hedge trimmer, which is cordless, attached to a rake, and I cut it pretty close to the ground. I am not worried about the winter rye growing back up around it for the simple reason, and I'll show you. The winter rye now has grown to the straw stage, and this is where the ground level is. You can see how pale this is here. Now when you take this or you crimp it like that, see how you break it? Now that will kill it off, or if you cut it, obviously, that will do the same thing. So I chose to cut this time instead of crimp it because it's a lot easier for me to do. Now again, when it gets only to the straw stage, early we tried to cut the grass off of the top here and it regrew again. Now when it gets past this, when this part at the bottom of the winter rye gets at least 2 to 3 inches above the ground here, then it's the straw stage, and you can just snap it off or crimp it, or you can cut it, and then it terminates it and will not grow back again. Now you have a nice mulch, which is your protective layer along the strip here, and you can plant right into it now with those transplants. So here's another good example. Now, last night I came in here, like I mentioned before, I cut the winter rye down. Now it's laying flat. Now I have this beautiful mulch on the ground. That's going to suppress weeds and also reduce the amount of heat hitting the ground. So now if I want to plant into it, I can just move this aside here and go down further and plant my plant right into it. Now what's nice about this, I can come back again. Now, let me see if I get a picture here for you. Now you can see where the blade cut here. Now this is not going to regrow at all, and this is nice and short, but I can come back, which I'm going to do. I'm going to come back again, and this is about, let's say the stubble up on top is about, say 2 inches or 2.5 inches tall. So I'm going to come back again and then cut this one more time to level the ground, and then I can just put my plant right here in the ground. The reason why I use a cordless hedge trimmer is that you can see when I cut it, I am laying the winter rye flat on the ground. If I use a weed whacker, it will chop it up into little pieces. I don't want to do that. And in this particular case, I don't go close to the ground because I want the stubble on there to hold that material in place on top. Now planting into it, we're just going to open it up. Now, high-tech tool we're going to use is a putty knife. Now we're just going to place it into the soil and then pull back on it. And this way we're only compressing one side. Now we just take our transplant and place it right there. Give it a nice little tug in the soil and we're all set. You'll be amazed how quickly they grow. The roots from the winter rye are there for a reason. That's the tillage in your soil. That's naturally tilling the soil. This plant, I know it's a brassica, does not use mycorrhizal fungi, but it needs to have a healthy soil for it to get nutrients because it doesn't rely on that mycorrhizal fungi. It relies on root hairs, and I did a separate video on that. So all these nutrients that are floating around the soil that are being released can go to that plant now through those root hairs on the plant. I understand that this is not very common for people to see it this way, but by not disturbing the soil, I will get very little weeds because I am not aerating the soil, and the seeds are on the surface and they fall into those holes. So I only have this one little area that I disturb the ground. Everything is just the way it is, and you can see around the whole area I don't have weeds in here because of the monocrop. Now this is just going to take off and just going to be healthy all summer. Now I will also show you how to use a weed whacker and get down to the soil in the future, and that's in part 2, and also how to lay paper down and put irrigation out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.